Hi, I'm Baldwin Burgess and I'm here with my business partner Zin Bekkali. How are you doing, Zin?
Good, thank you.
Great. We're in Dubai today. We're at the Fund Forum Middle East 2013. Today is the Global Growth Summit Day. It's the first day of the event and we are discussing growth markets, emerging markets, frontier markets, and with a special focus on this region. And throughout the day, the discussion has always been about the Middle East. Why is it not attracting more capital, and why are investors misunderstanding this place? Now here we are. You obviously are based here, you live here, you see this every day. This infrastructure is ready. It's quite amazing what they've built in the last decade. But yet, it seems like managers here are having difficulty selling the region to the world, and investors don't seem to understand it. What do you think? What is wrong here? What is the key for success with this allocation?
I think it's a question of two things. I think one is the question of different cycles, and the second thing is a lot of still information gap. A lot of people, when they look at this region, they see it as a region which is full of cash, right, or as a region where just basically you get money from here. The way we think investors should look at it is for two things. Is one, really as a potential consumer opportunity. We have bigger countries like Saudi, where there's a huge industrialization going on, ranging from investing in supermarkets to investing in food companies or telecom and so forth. The other thing which is really interesting is that to just stand back and look at what has been realized in terms of this global hub function. The region has done incredibly well in that regard. And if you look today, for example, as measured by airline capacity, today 15% of the airline capacity is in the Middle East.
Right.
So something has changed quite fundamentally. And the other thing which I always very much appreciate about specifically Dubai is it's a place you need to almost let it work for you. So that's the thing which is really investors should look at. When they look at it, is don't see it as necessarily a region where you simply invest, but look at companies or opportunities which allow you to make Dubai almost like a place to grow further as a central hub. And if you look at it from that angle, there are many, many examples of companies who are doing exactly that.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting you say that, because every country in this region has a different story. And this is definitely probably one why Dubai stands out so much, because I don't think investors really understand its value proposition. I mean, in the end, it is a trading place.
Sure.
It is a hub,
sure,
like you correctly say. And then I guess there's other regions which have a different type of story. I mean, for example, Kuwait is probably a very sophisticated financial market, whereas Saudi is just a demographic I mean, we all think that Saudi is awash with cash and all these kind of things, but if you actually go into Saudi, you'll see immediately that there's still so much development to take place, right?
Absolutely, and I think that's also the beauty of the Gulf region specifically, is that each country has its own story, but also what is really important is the same theme that you see across frontier markets, which is basically about entrepreneurs. That's really the most important thing for investors, is you can look at each country from a political, macro type point of view, and people should have question marks about certain things, which is fair.
Right.
But that doesn't tell you anything about the real opportunity in these markets. The real opportunity in these markets is entrepreneurs who are building or using these places to do business. And the same story holds true for somebody in Nigeria or somebody in Saudi. You have some people who are able to use that type of environment, that habitat, to be extremely successful.
Exactly.
And you can find smart entrepreneurs everywhere in the world. And if you look at them in the Middle East, some of them are very interesting. They're using competitive advantages of this region for themselves. If you look at Air Arabia, for example, it's a low-cost carrier out of the Middle East, servicing around 2 billion people in 2 to 3 hours. It's a fantastic company, a fabulous business model. You have, on the other hand, in Saudi Arabia, some companies who are, for example, doing travel, focusing on 30 million people who are traveling a lot, because, for example, they have weather conditions who are very bad in the summer, or because they have very big families, and when they travel, they cannot just simply go to booking.com and reserve a hotel. So these type of things are very important to where you tie up local entrepreneurs with local opportunities. You have a very, very interesting combination.
Yeah, and I think it's about putting that story in the right perspective, because what foreign investors often see is that sovereign wealth.
Of course.
But that's not trading on the markets.
Of course.
And the reason why there are stock markets here is because there are these entrepreneurs who have created something that other people wanted to invest in.
Absolutely.
So I guess it's all about, like, I guess, rearranging the story in a way that putting the entrepreneur first. And
yeah, I think so. I think it's about entrepreneur first, about companies first. Also, is a lot of question marks about the sustainability of these countries.
Yeah.
There's always a big question: is how sustainable are these economies? How sustainable are in terms of the economy, in terms of the oil wealth? Is it going to stay for how long? There's questions about the political side. And there's all good questions, no question about, there's fair, no problem. But that doesn't say anything again about where the real opportunity is, and there is a real opportunity in these places. And the good news is companies are already delivering. If you look at the earnings of these countries, of these companies in these countries, are fabulous. If you look at the valuations, are very interesting. So for the bottom line is the Gulf region, although small, it plays a very important role in the global economy. And again, the simple fact that 15% of the airline capacity of the world goes through this place. And the increasing use of these countries are being hubs linking Asia and Africa. It's incredible. And that's something to really look into and build on from it. Also, there's the final thing I want to say on this specifically is that these companies also are increasingly growing outside of these markets. Take, for example, a company like Savola or Amarai in Saudi, or a company like Emaar or Etisalat in Emirates, or even Industries Qatar, or whatever company you take. Typically what you find that they are doing very well is they use their local markets to capture cash flow, to build profitability. Then they use the sovereign wealth to finance themselves cheaply and then go outside. I mean, for example, again, the Qatari telecom company is very big in certain very big markets. For example, Frontier Asia, Pakistan Telecom has 30%, 40% owned by Etisalat from UAE. Now, those Bangladesh and Pakistan alone, each one of them is 150 million people. Those are great stories for investors to look at. So if you are allowing yourself to go deeper and look at the bottom of opportunity, and I think that's really where hopefully this region will go, that we stop talking about countries and about kingdoms and about political situation, but start to become very excited about companies. If we can achieve that, and we can achieve that in a way where we don't just, and we understand it. I mean, a lot of people understand that Emirates now is a global company, but as you know, most people say, it's because they receive all the money from the government. They don't really value or understand that this company is actually one of the most sustainable and most competitive companies in the world in airlines. They are extremely competitive. Everything they do is very professional.
They've built economies of scale before most have.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
It sounds to me like the problems are luxury problems, right?
Sure, I mean, maybe, but yes, they are luxury problems. On the other hand, they are unfortunately quite fundamental, because the sad reality is that investors are, the traditional investors, when they make up their mind on a certain place, it takes you a long time before changing it, and sometimes it never disappears. And even if it changes, it's going to be very tactical. So that's unfortunate. I think there's a lot of work still to be done in terms of educating people, making people understand the case. It's gonna, that's the bad news. I think that the smart investors hopefully will act more quickly, but the average man on the streets, I think it will take a bit of time.
But I guess the smart investors are here.
Some of them are. Yes.
All right, thanks, Zin.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.